Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third episode of the Farside Podcast, Season 2. I'm your host, Landon, and we have some exciting events planned for you today. The first being, of course, I am going to be giving a brief update on the Farside Films return to studio plan. There were some recent public health order changes just this past weekend in my local area that did, in fact, affect the return to studio plan, so I'm going to be giving a brief update on that. And then second, we have a brand new segment that we are going to be introducing in today's episode, which I'm very excited to introduce. And then we're going to finish today's episode with a movie review of Psycho. So lots of exciting stuff planned today. And of course, joining me again, we have Noah Davidson from NTD Films. Noah, welcome back.
It's good to be back here, Landon. Glad to see that I haven't been canned like last time and replaced with Parker. Basically every episode that I'm on here and still co-hosting or whatever you want to call this it's been a treat.
That's good to hear. Yeah, no, we have no plans of canning you. So
that's what you said last year, though. So
fair enough. Farside's always making changes. And speaking of changes, we're going to get right into the new public health orders, which just came into effect this past weekend. So as you know, before we talked about the fact that we could not access the studio because of the restrictions, and we were hoping, of course, like I said in the first episode when I talked about this, I really had no timeline as to when we'd be able to get back into studio. And this weekend they did update and change the public health orders. However, indoor or in-person gatherings are still not allowed at this time. And of course, the Farside Films PR team, communications team, did put out a statement just this past weekend regarding this whole situation. And I'm just going to quickly, read their statement, and then we'll get into mine and Noah's thoughts on this whole situation. So here is our PR team statement regarding the new public health orders and the return to studio update. So, in response to the new public health orders issued by the provincial government in cooperation with Manitoba Public Health, Farside Films will remain committed to providing a healthy and safe working environment for all of its employees and partners. I'm sorry, this is just such a PR statement. All right. This will mean continuing the application of virtual services, whatever the hell that means. I mean, come on. Virtual services. I'm sorry, they're gonna be coming after me now. Okay, so virtual services, programs, and technology to continue working remotely. The studio will remain closed and will not be accessible to anyone until further notice. Our return to studio plan will be modified accordingly, and additional updates can be expected in the following weeks. Farside Films will continue to respect and follow public health orders as we have done from day one, and we continue to applaud the work of Manitoba Public Health is and has been doing to keep everyone safe throughout the course of this. Okay, so basically it's just a huge PR statement. They're just taking a spin on this and trying to make it sound like a positive, and it is not a positive for me anyways. I'm going to come out and say it. It's not surprising, but it's disappointing. At this point in time, me and Noah were doing a little bit of research before we started the podcast, but it looks like August 2nd will be the next possible date that we could maybe get back into studio, and they might make the public health changes again, would be August 2nd. So that's still a month off, as it is June, what is it today? June 28th, I want to say. Yeah, we're filming this on June 28th. The episode comes out this Friday, so it will not be June 28th this Friday. But I mean, for me personally, I don't think, I don't see this as a positive. Noah, I'm going to ask you quickly, how do you feel about the fact that we are not going to be able to get back in studio anytime in the foreseeable future?
I'm not sure how political you want this podcast to get, but I think it's pretty dumb, the restrictions, because people are getting vaccinated, obviously, and things are getting better, and they're opening up to, I want to say it's 10 people outside, like on private property now, and like 30 or something else and on like random property. I don't know the exact rules, but it doesn't make sense to me that you can have so many people outside, but when you're inside you can't.
Well, and you can still dine with people at restaurants. Like there was something about you can still go to restaurants and dine
Yeah,
with
you
people.
can go to restaurants if you're double vaccinated 14 days or whatever the heck it is. So why isn't that the rule for indoors too?
Yeah.
That just doesn't really make sense to me at all.
No, it doesn't. And I'm just going to give my thoughts too. Like, I miss the studio, of course. being in studio, being in person filming is a lot better than doing it this way. I actually just watched an episode from last season the other day, and it's so much better. Like even just there's just more energy, there's better conversations, more lively conversations, you know. And it's just a whole lot more fun in general. The episodes look like they're more fun, and not saying that these ones are bad or anything, but I just feel like having that in studio just makes for more entertaining content because there's so much more we can do when we're sitting next to each other and
Yeah.
not on a screen staring at each other with, you know, a like 2 second delay between like time back and forth, talking back and forth. Like, um, you know, and I think viewers enjoyed it more. I know last year when I did the eighth episode of last season, the last episode of last season, virtually like this, it was just me, but I did it, you know, not in studio. Like people complained about it. People said it wasn't good. Noah, you might remember
That
people
was also
saying
because you acted depressed the whole episode. So
maybe that's part of it too. But yeah, um, it's, you know, I think just being in studio creates for so much more fun and entertaining content. So it is very disappointing that we are unable to get back into studio. And like I said, I mean, hopefully for, like I said, hopefully August 2nd. I mean, I would love for it to have been sooner than that. I was hoping it would be sooner than that. But the reality of the situation is we are stuck doing it like this for probably another month. So
yeah.
buckle up.
And Farside's spent so much money making that studio fancy and like perfect for the podcast, and
Oh,
it's
and the
not
It
even
2
getting used.
poster and dog, the It 2 poster,
I
you know,
know,
all that.
such good props and
Oh
high
yeah, yeah.
quality mics. Like they've invested so much money in like a guest mic even.
Yeah, I just bought a new mic this year. Well, this is a new mic. The one I'm using right now, I bought this year for the Farside podcast, and then I have my other mic, which I bought last summer, which was also like this one wasn't cheap, and the one I have that I used last summer is not cheap. So, I mean, this is very disappointing for Farside for sure. But apparently not for our freaking PR team, who seems to think everything
PR
is just
team loves it.
rainbows and sun. Yeah, rainbows and sunshine. All right. So yeah, that's about it. I don't really have much more to say about this whole situation. Noah, anything you'd like to finish with
I
here?
just think the whole thing's dumb, and it's hope we can get back into the studio soon and actually get a in-person podcast here, because that'd be a lot better, like you said.
Yeah, 100% agreed there. All right, everyone, moving on to our new segment, which is going to be titled TFP Throwback. And I'm going to get right into explaining it. Basically, there are two separate parts to this segment. In the first part, we throw back to a particular year, preferably within the 2000 to 2019 timeframe. Here, we choose a year and then go over its highlights and significances. Some examples of that would be like top pop song. We're going to do top country song as well, because here at Farside, we enjoy country music. And so we will do both. We're going to go over some popular movies from that year, TV shows, and then some top news stories. And sometimes we'll even throw in an additional weird trend or fact about that given year. And then the second part of this segment is going to be choosing an original episode of the Farside podcast to throw back to. And no, I'm not referring to season 1 of the Farside podcast. I'm referring to the original podcasts that I did by myself back in 2018. And this segment will likely occur every second episode or so. It's not going to be something we do every episode like we do with the film reviews, which last year was not. Last year, it was introduced as a segment that would kind of happen every second episode. And now this year, we're incorporating it into every episode because I think it kind of speaks to like the podcast's brand or theme, given the fact that this is a YouTube channel centered around films. I mean, films is in the title. So I think like movie reviews fits the episode, the podcast's theme, and speaks to its brand. However, this is something that, you know, not so much, and it's not something our audience will probably be looking for every episode. So we've decided to kind of do this every second episode, maybe not even that often. We'll see what happens, and we'll see how successful and how well it goes. All right, so getting into the year we have chosen to throw back to today. Today, we are throwing back to 2014. And 2014, of course, is about 7 years ago now. And we're going to start right off with the top pop song from this year. So Noah, take it away.
So the top pop song from 2014 was Happy by Pharrell Williams.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is
All right, and I'm just gonna jump in here and say right away, like I honestly totally forgot about this song, or maybe not so much forgot about it, but forgot that it would be the top song of this year because for some reason when I was thinking about 2014 and getting ready to do the research on what the top song would be, I had thought it was going to be "Fancy" by Iggy Azalea because for some reason I have strong memories of that being a song that was very prominent that year. So for some reason, I just thought that would be the top song of that year. However, as soon as I saw It Was Happy, it made total sense because I totally remember that song being on the radio on repeat all the time. And I got super sick of it and super annoyed with it very fast.
Yeah, I didn't remember that like at all, but then as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, that song was everywhere. It was all over the radio, and then it was in one of the Despicable Me movies, either one or two, whichever one came out that year, and that made it even more popular. And then it was just a vicious cycle. And I remember at one point I even had to play it. Like I learned how to play it in my band class because it was just so popular that the teacher bought the sheet music for it, and it's just sick of the song by the end of it. But it's not a terrible song, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's not terrible. All right, so moving on, we're gonna do top country song now because as we said here at Farside, we really enjoy our country music. So the top country song of 2014 is "This Is How We Roll" by Florida Georgia Line featuring Luke Bryan.
This is how we roll. We hanging around, singing down everything on the radio.
So Noah, I'm not sure what you remember, what your thoughts are on this song. I remembered a little bit. Again, I couldn't tell you it was 2014. If I'm going to be totally honest here, I kind of thought it was more like 2016, 2017. But I do remember the song a little bit. I think it's an all right song. I haven't listened to it recently, and I don't hear it that often anymore. But from what I remember, it's an all right song. What are your thoughts on it?
I totally forgot this song existed. But then once I heard the title, I'm like, oh yeah, I think I remember that. And then I like played it on Spotify or whatever. And I do like this song still. I think it's a pretty good song. I actually added it to my main country playlist because NTD also likes their country music, just like you, Farside. So I added it to my playlist, and it's a song that I'll probably listen to a couple times here or there.
All right, so moving right on to popular movies. Noah, you want to take that one?
Okay, so the three most popular movies that we found were Guardians of the Galaxy, Transformers: Age of Extinction, and The Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 1.
All right, so I'm just going to be completely honest here. I have not seen a single one of those three films, so I can't really speak to any of them, how good they are, what they're like at all. I don't know because I haven't seen them. But Noah, have you seen any of these three films?
I've seen two of the three. I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy. That was actually the first Marvel movie that I watched in theaters, so that's a fun fact for you guys. Exclusive info on NTD. And I did watch The Hunger Games. I think I did, at least. I watched a couple of the Hunger Games films, but honestly, they're just so forgettable for me that I don't know which one I watched. I think I watched that one, but I could be wrong. And I did not watch the Transformers one. I watched the first one, didn't like it, and have not watched them since. So, yeah.
All right, so moving right on to popular TV shows.
So the three most popular TV shows were The Big Bang Theory, Modern Family, and NCIS New Orleans.
So for me personally, of these three, I actually have watched slash currently still do watch two of the three. I still watch Modern Family. I really enjoy that show. I think it's hilarious. And I don't watch The Big Bang Theory much anymore, but when I was in like middle school, I watched it all the time, and it was like my favorite TV show when I was in like grade 7 and 8. I had like these little figurines of like the characters from the show. I had like these little figurines of like Sheldon and Leonard and whatnot. And yeah, I used to really enjoy the show. I haven't watched in years now, so not too sure what my thoughts would be now, but I do watch Modern Family still, and I do really enjoy that. What about you, Noah?
I have not seen a single episode of NCIS New Orleans. And
I haven't either.
I watched the occasional Modern Family or Big Bang Theory episode, but I've never really watched them in full. Like, they're funny enough, but I don't know, it's not really a show that I sit down and watch the entirety of, so yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go right into the big or significant news stories from 2014. There were a lot to choose from when I searched this up. Like I went onto like the ABC News website and I got like a list of just different stories from national, international, celebrity news, sports news, like all sorts of stuff, right? And so I just kind of picked three at random. Two are kind of international, and one is more celebrity. And so let's get right into it. So the first news story is the Ebola epidemic. And then we have the Malaysian Airlines disaster. And then finally, in celebrity news, we had the deaths of comedians Robin Williams and Joan Rivers. So Noah, you remember any of these news stories? Did these impact you in any way? Anything you have to say about them?
So when I first saw the Malaysian Airlines disaster, I didn't honestly remember what it was until you searched it up and told me what it was. I do remember the Ebola epidemic. I remember that being like a way bigger deal than it seems like now, because it seemed like a really big deal, but compared to COVID, it's like nothing. So it's kind of weird how we were all freaking about it back then and just how things have changed. And in terms of Robin Williams and Joanne Rivers, I didn't know they died that year. Like I'm not very good at keeping up with celebrity deaths. Like I knew that they had died. I didn't know it was this year. So I like the movies, especially Robin Williams. I actually don't know what Joanne Rivers is in, but I really liked Robin Williams in a lot of the stuff he's in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about any of these three in particular. I guess the Ebola one's probably the most fondest in memory for me. I kind of remember it sort of as being like a huge deal, but it was more so of like a threat and more so of I guess a problem. I know that sounds super cruel. It was more of an issue like in like not so much in North America as it was in like South America and Africa. Like that's where it was really prominent and it was really bad. Of course, later on, the virus did spread to North America, but it never really, spread that badly over here as it did, in Africa and South America. And then as for the other two, yeah, I don't really have too much to say about those. I haven't really watched a lot of Robin Williams movies. I've seen The Good Will Hunting, which we reviewed on the Farside podcast last year, and I thought his performance was amazing in that. All right, so now we are going to move on to the second part of this segment, which is the throwing back to an old episode of the Farside podcast. And this is from the original series back in 2018. So for those of you who don't remember the original series or maybe weren't around or even don't care, I'm just going to tell you it anyways, that there was a total of 16 episodes in this season, we'll call it, and it ran from February to September of 2018. And there was over 200 minutes of runtime across these 16 episodes. So for this, we wanted to kind of do it randomly. We didn't really want to like pick a set episode. So I asked Noah before he even knew what was going on to pick a random number between 1 and 16, and he chose number 3. So today we are throwing back to episode 3 of the original Farside podcast titled The Middle Rank. And this episode released on February 5th and currently sits at 22 views on Farside Films. So yeah, it clearly hasn't done overwhelmingly well. But, could be worse, I guess. So let's get into the episode description and sit back because it's a long one. I think it's a little long for my liking, but here we go. So in this third edition of the Farside podcast, I tell a story called The Middle Rank. And that's it.
It's straight to the point, I guess.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's rather right to the point. So let's get right to the point here ourselves and listen to a condensed version of this third episode. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Farside Podcast, Episode 3. That's correct, we're already on our third edition of the Farside Podcast. And today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be telling you guys a story. The name of the story, because we gave it a title, is called The Middle Rank. And our team, I guess, and this wasn't very nice of them, and I'll admit that, decided to push them off the rank. Not literally push them, or physically push them, but, kind of like force them off the rank by we all just crowded the rink and decided to do our own scrimmage. So these kids are off now, off of the rink. They're sitting in the snowbank, and I'm pretty sure they're kind of upset that this happened. And there was about 5 or 6 mothers standing there, and 2 of those 6 mothers were crying, like actually crying. And Noah, if you ask him this, he probably will say, well, I don't really remember that happening. I don't even think Noah looked through those windows at any point in time. Some guy did, and that's where our angry man comes in here. He came kind of just like, I don't remember really where he came from, but he just came and he started screaming at the top of his lungs at us, and he's like, you guys get off this rink, and he started dropping F-bombs. I'm not joking. He, he used some other language that wasn't very nice. He's like, get your off the rank. You can presume what these swear words are. Fill them in yourselves, guys. So then after this guy starts lecturing us, he's mad. He's like, you guys can't be on here. You are not having full ice scrimmages. This is for younger kids and people who are out to have a leisure skate only, I guess, is kind of the way he was wording it. And so whatever, that's fine. I mean, he could have done it in a much nicer manner, but he's getting the point across in a very aggressive way. So then after he's done lecturing us, he goes over to the kids and he says, you guys can now play, come on, pats them on the back, whatever. And so that's kind of where you think the story ends. There's a bit more to it. This middle rink is just packed with parents and other kids cheering up these 2 boys who were, I guess you could say, attacked by our hockey team or forced off the rink, and the truth there. And so what happened is I guess there was a reporter there from, I don't know what he worked for. I think he worked for the Metro or something. But this reporter covered it. Apparently, it was kind of in the Metro as like a very small section, something. I think it was titled Teens Harsh to Little Kids Need Beating or something. I don't know what they even wrote about the whole situation. I don't want to know what they wrote about it. And anyway, so I guess that's pretty much the moral of the story, is that I guess be careful what you do, because it could end up in the Metro. I don't know what the point of the story is. I'm telling you guys this story just because I thought it would be fun. I'm Landon Miker, your host, and I'm signing out for today. Thank you very much. See you next time. That was the 3rd edition of the Farside Podcast. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that quick rundown of episode 3 of the original Farside Podcast. And let's get right to Noah here. Your thoughts on this episode. What do you remember from this episode, and what are your thoughts on it?
I think that this is slander. This is a fake news story, and it incriminates innocent people, and it's told out of context, and everything is hyperbolized. And just like everything on the 1st edition of the Farside Podcast, it's just all slander on NTD and trying to take down NTD, and just don't have fond memories of that.
Honestly, I listened to like a couple of them, like a couple episodes about maybe 3 weeks back. I did not listen to this one, and I have not listened to this one in a very long time. Like every time I revisit episodes from the original Farside Podcast, this is not on my list to revisit. So I know, like, I remember hardly anything from it. I can picture what I'd probably be saying. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna jump over that. Like, I don't really have any comment, honestly, on it. It's probably 90% fake or exaggerated, or distorted in some way. There is a little bit of truth in it, I'm sure, because
I just remembered how it ended. It ends with a bunch of martial art mothers kicking me in the face.
No, that was the second episode. That was the second episode.
That was the second episode?
Yeah, I do revisit that one because I like that one. From time to time, I will revisit that one, and that's the second one. That's like,
see, there's just so much
news
NTD getting beat up that I can't even tell them apart.
Almost every one of those original episodes has to do with NTD. Like, if you go through the list of them, it's like NTD this, NTD that. Like, I'll literally pull up the list of episodes here. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. Noah, if you have any propaganda you want to share about your channel while I do this, go ahead.
Propaganda, I think you guys should subscribe to NTD Films. NTD Films is a great channel that posts 2 videos a week, except for this week probably because I was too lazy to film a second video, but usually I film 2 videos a week, and we've got a short film coming out entitled Change that hopefully is coming out sometime soon, and you guys should check that out. Subscribe so that when it does come out, you're the first to see. Even hit that notification bell, because apparently that makes a difference too. And yeah, just make sure you subscribe to NTD Films, tell everyone you know about it, and get me to 50,000 subs.
Nice. So yeah, I looked it up, and there are 6 episodes with NTD in the title, or like something related to NTD in the title. And then there's one episode that doesn't have NTD or anything related to NTD in the title, but it does have a segment on NTD in it. So that's almost half of the episodes are centered around NTD films. So yeah, you were pretty bang on when you said it's pretty much just a bunch of NTD slander. Yeah. So anything else you want to say before we go to ad break here, Noah?
No, that's all I have to say. Just wanted to make my opinion clear that I do not condone these podcasts.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to listen to some more of them, I think, to see what my thoughts are. But anyways, guys, we're gonna jump to an ad break here, and when we get back, Noah and I will be reviewing Psycho, so don't go away, as we will be right back after these ads.
Abigator has a brand new line of flavors for all who seek bigger muscles and bigger boners. Flavors like jackfruit jizz, come on broccoli, and our hottest seller yet, dildo. Now that's enough flavors for you to feel ripped both at the gym and in bed. And wait, it gets even better. If you order online within the next hour, we'll give you a second bottle half price off.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yes, but not as big as the boners you'll receive from this amazing product. So, come one and come all and try out our new line of flavors today. Abigator Sex and Sports Energy Drinks fuels your bones and boners.
So Condor Productions is more or less just a place for me to upload all my videos, just in case I lose the files. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, let me just give it a Sage X spin.
Oh my Jesus!
Condor Productions expose. Read it now.
Are you tired of wasting several hours every day sleeping? If the answer is yes, then boy do I have the drug for you. Introducing Sleep No More, created by Say Tan, founder and CEO of Devil's Drugs. Sleep No More is a brand new drug that allows you to feel as though you slept a full 8 hours without ever having to close your eyes. Taking just one pill will give the consumer enough energy for the entire day. With those kind of benefits, how could you not try this product? Buy Sleep No More today. You'll be damned if you don't.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those ads. As I said prior to our ad break, this episode, Noah and I will be reviewing Psycho. So starting off here with some general information on the film. The release year is 1960. Genres are thriller and horror. The maturity rating is R. The runtime is 1 hour and 48 minutes. It's directed by Alfred Hitchcock. It's starring Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles, John Gavin, and Martin Balsam. The film's summary is as follows. When a larcenous real estate clerk goes on the lam with a wad of cash in hopes of starting a new life, she ends up at the notorious Bates Motel. And some critic ratings are IMDb gives it an 8.5 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 96%, and Metacritic gives it a 97%. So Noah, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on Psycho?
I'm a fan of Alfred Hitchcock. I've seen a couple of his films. I have a lot more I still want to see because his work's pretty interesting to me. I've seen this, obviously, Rebecca and Rear Window. And as far as his other stuff, like, he doesn't make anything bad, and this isn't an exception. But I don't know, I didn't love it.
Okay, yeah, so I have not seen any of Alfred Hitchcock's work either than this. So I don't really have a lot of prior knowledge of what other stuff he's made. I have heard of him before a lot, and I've heard he's a very good director. And I guess this film, I'll start with my first point, which is there was lots of great suspense, I thought, and tension throughout the film. It held my attention pretty well. It never really bored per se, or I never really felt like I lost my attention too much. So I would say it was pretty entertaining, and I think as far as like pacing goes, the story was well paced. There was enough, there to keep you interested.
I like that he kind of has like the mystery, obviously, with the mother, and how it's not confirmed till the end that it's actually I can't remember the guy's name now, but it's not confirmed till the end that it's actually him being mother and himself at the same time. And I really liked that, because before that point I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm really on board with this movie. It's like pretty good, but it's not the best. And then that twist, I was like, ooh, that's interesting. I really like that twist, and it makes sense, kind of like with everything, the mystery they've been setting up. And I don't know, I really like the twist at the end. I liked that they kind of resolved that mystery. And that's actually going back to talking about Alfred Hitchcock's other stuff. It's a very similar thing that he does in Rebecca, and a very similar thing that he does in Rear Window. And I don't know, I think that he's pretty good at making like mystery suspense movies.
Okay. So I guess since you just talked about the twist at the end, I will quickly give you my thoughts on that. So I thought that was really cool as well. I really enjoyed it. Norman's mother being dead and Norman acting as his mother all along was something that really intrigued me. I will say that I actually did at one point earlier in the film speculate that this might actually be what's going on. The thought actually occurred to me. I want to say it was in the scene where um, what's her name? Marianne, is that the main character's name? Her sister, anyways, and her boyfriend or whatever were at the sheriff's house, and they were talking with the sheriff and his wife, and the wife said something about Norman's mother being dead and how she helped pick the grave or whatever. The thought did briefly occur to me that maybe Norman was his mother, like was acting as his mother all along, but I kind of like after that forgot about it. So at the end, it did still catch me a little bit by surprise, but I wasn't fully shocked just because the thought actually had occurred to me already.
The thought hadn't occurred to me. I was just really confused when they said his mother was buried. I'm like, so how are they going to explain this away? Because there's clearly a woman in the window, and I'm assuming it's not actually like shown to us, but like he has his mom. He doesn't actually just keep her in the cellar, right? He keeps her in the room unless he needs to hide the body. So that, I guess that's how they explain that. And I was just, I don't know, I didn't actually see the twist coming really. Maybe I should have, but I thought it was a really well disguised twist that doesn't feel like unearned because I didn't expect it. It was just, I didn't expect it.
Yeah. That's kind of, yeah, I kind of gathered that too, that he was like moving her around the house and that he did not keep her in the cellar all the time, so that it was probably like her dead body or her corpse that they saw in the window at sometimes is kind of what I was gathering from it. All right, so I want to quickly move on to my last positive for this film, which was the ending. And I thought the ending was really good. The psychologist explaining Norman's behavior and mentality and everything was really cool. And it all made sense and was like, yeah, super intriguing. And then I like the final shot where we see Norman, he's sitting in the cell. He takes the blanket from the officers and even answers in his mother's voice, which is kind of funny. And then, you hear his mother's voice talking in his head. And the line about she wouldn't even hurt a fly or whatever. I thought that was kind of funny. And I really thought that was a nice ending. And it really just added to the whole like kind of ominous, creepy, and then deranged kind of aspect of this character in this film.
Yeah, I definitely think that the ending with his character was pretty creepy. I didn't think it was funny per se, I just thought it was creepy. And in general, I don't know how I feel about the like narration. Like at that point it makes sense, I liked that narration, but when the main character was like driving and you heard her friend and her boss talking, I found that kind of weird because it sounds like it should be coming from her head, but she shouldn't, but there's no way she knows about that conversation. So those scenes were a little off-putting for me because I was like, this just doesn't really make sense to me. And I think it would have been better if it was just A, not included, or they had a separate scene. I just don't think that the voiceover worked.
All right, yeah. So I'm actually going to talk about the first act as well when we have Marianne's character. I'm hoping that's her name and I'm not getting it wrong. But Marianne's character is kind of like taking off with the money. So we see her driving on the highway and then we see her going in to get the trade in her car. She's getting followed by that cop and all that. At the time, I thought it was fine, but when you look back on it, it kind of seems like they spend too much time showing this journey. Like, this part of the film took up close to 40 minutes of the film in an hour and 48-minute film. And I think it could have been condensed. Like, it's not really that vital to the story. Of course, it's important, but do we need to spend that much time on her getting to the hotel? Like, we spent a lot of time just leading up to her arriving at the motel, and it felt like it was really unnecessary. I think it could have been condensed. However, because it's only a 1 hour and 48-minute film, I don't really consider it that big of a deal, and I'm not really going to, hold it against this film too much. If it was a 2.5 hour film like Zodiac, and this was like, right, like it was, they spent 40 minutes showing her just getting to the hotel, then I'd have an issue with it for sure.
Honestly, I didn't know anything about this film besides the shower scene. I assumed that was at the end of the film, and that the entire film was going to be her trying to get like the money. I thought that Norman was just going to be like a side character at first. Like, she was going to stop in the hotel, talk to him, he was going to be a little weird, and then she was going to be on her way. And I thought the boyfriend killed her, honestly. Like, that's what I thought happened. But I was really surprised when, 55 minutes into the film, when Norman killed her as the mother. And I was like, whoa, like, that's just like huge. I don't know if it's a twist, but like, just completely changed the narrative at that point. And it just shocked me. I don't know if it was, not necessarily saying that was good or bad, but I was just shocked when that happened, like halfway through the film.
I will agree with that too. I didn't expect her to die like halfway through the film either. I thought that was coming towards the end at some point, so I was rather surprised when that happened too. I want to talk about the death scenes as well, because I personally didn't like them, either of them, that being the private investigator's death and Marianne's death. I thought they were very, very cheesy, especially the private investigator's death. I would say was almost laugh out loud bad for me, to be honest. I understand there's a lack of like special effects and fancy high-tech editing software to do this kind of stuff digitally or add any digital effects, but yeah, I did not enjoy them at all. I thought they were very cheesy, and I don't know, it took away from my viewing experience for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that while the shower scene is iconic, it's really cheesy. Mm-hmm. Like there's just like the stabs, and the whole struggle with that scene is really cheesy. Honestly, if that scene wasn't iconic and I didn't know it, I would have thought it was terrible. I honestly don't like it. I don't know why it's so iconic. And the private investigator one, it was definitely just as cheesy. I like the overhead shot where like she comes flying out of the room and like stabs him or whatever. And there's a cool shot when he's like falling down the stairs where it kind of like dollies down, but the actual death itself is cheesy again.
Yeah, agreed 100% there.
I actually just want to say one more thing before we get into final thoughts, and that's that the music, like the huge sharp tones, is overused in my opinion. Like, she's just driving and there's the huge sharp tones. It takes out of the shower scene, in my opinion. Like, using it then and using it during other death scenes makes sense, but just using it all the time, especially in the first act, I noticed was just a little over the top for me. But overall, I don't love this film. I think that we both pointed out several flaws. It's still a really good story and it's well made still, but there's just some flaws. So I'm going to give it, I think, an 8 out of 10.
Fair enough. My overall thoughts are pretty much the same. It's an intriguing film. It did like keep my attention the entire time. The story's good. There's some nice twists and turns here and there. 96%, 97%, like Rotten Tomatoes and whatever the other one was. Like, let's see here. Like, what is like these critic reviews were? So 96% from Rotten Tomatoes and then 97% from Metacritic. Like, what the hell? Like, no, I don't understand. Like, why so high? Like, it's a good film. I will say that. Like, it's a good film. I gave it, I guess I'll just give you my score. My score is an 8 out of 10 as well. Like, I think it's a good film. It's a solid film. I enjoyed it. But 96 and 97%, that is high. And I just don't see how. I honestly don't see how it's that high. Like, I don't see what's so special about it.
Honestly, I think it's probably the name brand. Like Alfred Hitchcock makes some fantastic stuff. Yeah. So that would honestly be my opinion as to why it got so high with critics. I don't think it deserves that high either.
Yeah, no. All right, so that's about everything for this episode. Noah, any final thoughts, anything you want to wrap up with here before we end this episode?
I guess I'll just say, if you guys have seen this movie and you like Alfred Hitchcock, this is probably one of his worst ones. So check out his other films, because a lot of them are way better than this.
All right, maybe I'll make sure to do that too. As like I said, I haven't seen any of his other work, but going off of this one, I'm not crazy about it. All right, everyone. So thank you again for joining us and sticking with us here till the end. I hope you enjoyed this second episode. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us and sticking with us here till the end today. I hope you enjoyed this third episode of the Farside Podcast. Goodbye for now, and I'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Goodbye.